Very good morning to all you students there. Today we will be discussing about the joint stock company. So what are the things that we are going to do today? Definition of joint stock company, features of joint stock company, merits of joint stock company, limitations of joint stock company, types and difference between a private company and a public company. So we are starting with the joint stock company. Now students, before we start with the joint stock company, when we have talked about the various forms of organizations till now, the sole proprietorship, the joint Hindu family business, partnership, we have seen cooperatives as well. We have seen that the resources that they were having, the financial resources that they had was very less, okay? So they were not having much of financial resources. So to if a company, if a person wants that he wants to run a big company or a company on a large scale business, he needs a lot of finance. So where will the finance come from? The finance will be coming from the people, the public, okay? So the company will issue shares, and in return people will be giving the funds to these big companies, okay? And with this they will be doing the business, okay? So this is the concept of joint stock company. So let us see the definition of a joint stock company. A company can be defined as an artificial person having a separate legal identity or entity, perpetual succession, and a common seal. So, when we talk about a company, it is an artificial person, children. Though it is not eating, but it can, that is, it can own a property, it can sell a property, it can sue others, it can be sued, okay? It can give a loan to others, it can take a loan from others. So, a company becomes an artificial person in the eyes of law, and it is having a separate legal identity. Like a person has a separate legal identity with his name, with his parents' name, okay? So, like that only, the company, when it is registered, it becomes a separate legal identity it will have, and it is having perpetual succession. Perpetual means, children, continuous succession, continuous existence, okay? So a company will be existing for a long period of time unless people want to wind it up with certain ways. There are certain ways to wind it up, okay? So, and it is having a common seal. Now since it is an artificial person, it does not have, that is, nobody is there to sign, okay? So therefore there is a common seal, which if it is used on a certain paper, it will be considered a signature of the company, okay? So, or a certain person also sometimes is assigned the work of signing the important documents in a joint stock company. So again I am repeating, a company can be defined as an artificial person having a separate legal identity, perpetual succession, that is continuous succession, and a common seal. So how does it sign? It will have a common seal. Now there are certain important things that you should know. It is governed by the Companies Act 9, that is 2013. Earlier, children, the Companies Act 2, that is Companies Act 1956 was applicable earlier, okay? But now it is governed by the Companies Act 2013. The capital of the company is divided. Capital here means the funds, the money of the company is divided in shares which are easily transferable. So when we are having the company gets its funds from the people, and to the people it will be offering the shares, okay? So with this it is getting the income or funds for running the business. So whatever fund is actually divided into a number of shares or debentures also, children, okay? It is not mentioned in your book, so I'm not giving you, but shares and debentures. So here capital of the company is divided into shares which can be easily transferable. You know that the shares, when you take a particular share, you can also sell it to a certain person, and you can use a stock exchange in order to sell the shares. Okay. Next is shareholders are the owners of the company. So whoever are the shareholders, there are numerous shareholders in a company, so they are considered the owners of the company. Shareholders elect directors. Now there are so many shareholders in a company, and it is not possible for them to leave their work and continuously give attention to the company. So they elect directors, the managing committee, who are the ones who will manage the company, and they will keep professional experts like a good financial person, a CA, a chartered accountant, they will keep in the company, or they'll keep a person very good at law. Okay, so like that they will be keeping the experts to do the work in the company. So shareholders elect the directors. Directors have full control over the company. They decide what is to be done for the company, and they manage the company through professional experts. Okay. Next is examples of a joint stock company in India, children. So here you are having the Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Tata Motors, Reliance Industries Limited, State Bank of India. So these are the examples of the joint stock company. Now features of joint stock company. First, artificial person, separate legal identity, I explained you just now, perpetual succession, formation, control, liability, common seal, and risk bearing. So these are the features of the joint stock company. So the first one, artificial person. A company is a person, so it can purchase, since it is an artificial person in the eyes of law, so it can purchase, sell, incur debts, okay, take loans, or lend money to the others, can be sued, or can sue others. Okay, so it is an artificial person. Just like we talked about, the cooperative society was an artificial person. Okay, so it could own property, and it had a separate legal identity separate from its members. Now separate legal identity, its assets and liabilities are separate from its members. The members, children, I told you that in the joint stock company are the shareholders. Now shareholders' asset will not become the company's asset. Neither will the company's asset become the shareholders' asset. So the shareholders are having separate assets, and the company is having separate asset and liabilities. Okay, so separate legal identity, its asset, that the company's assets and liabilities are separate from its members. Perpetual succession means continuous existence. Members may come and go, but the company goes on forever. So it is not affected by the death, lunacy, insanity of members. So people may come and go. However, the life of the company can come to an end only when the whole legal procedure of winding up is complete. So if at all there is a complete loss for the company, then sometimes the company closes down. But a lot of legal procedures are to be done in order to wind up the company. Next, formation. According to the Indian Company Act 2013, it is mandatory. Mandatory means must for a company to get itself registered with the Registrar of Companies. And when it is registered, it has to submit a lot of documents with the registration form. Okay. Next, control. Shareholders elect directors who manage and control the affairs of the company by appointing expert professionals. Just now I have explained you this. Okay, so liability. Liability of the shareholders is limited to the amount on shares purchased by them. In case of a loss, members have to pay the value of unpaid amount of shares. Now children, supposing that a person A is having 3,000 shares of rupees 10 each, on which he is already paid rupees 8 per share. So the person has shares, okay, 3,000 shares, and the cost of each share is rupees 10 each. The person has not paid the full amount, he has only paid rupees 8 per shares. So remaining 2 rupees per share he has not given. So what is it that he is remaining to give to the company? That is rupees 2 that has not been paid into 3,000. So that is 6,000 rupees he is the unpaid amount on shares that he has to give. So in case of a loss, he has to pay only the unpaid amount that he has not given for the shares. So this is what is that in case of a loss, members have to pay the value of unpaid amount of shares. You can look into your books also if you want to study in details, okay? So liability of the shareholders is just limited to the amount of shares purchased by them. So whatever shares they are purchasing, if there is a loss, so it will be a loss of the shares. Next is common seal. What is a common seal? It is an official signature of the company, or a person is authorized to sign by the directors. So it can be a common seal, a stamp that you say, okay, for the company, or a person can be authorized to sign by the directors, okay. So since it is not a real person, it is an artificial person, so this common seal will act as a signature for the company. Any document which does not have a common seal of the company is not a binding on the company. However, if a document has a common seal, means that that is there has been a transaction or there has been an agreement made with the company, okay. Next is risk bearing. Risk is shared by numerous shareholders, no one feels the burden. So when there is a loss, as I told you, so each person's shares is at risk. So what the person has invested in the shares is going to be lost. So not one person, but there are number of people who are going to bear the risk in a joint stock company, okay. Next, merits of a joint stock company. Limited liability. So what did I say about the liability? That it is limited only to the extent of unpaid amount on shares. Next, transfer of interest. The shares can be easily sold in through the stock market. So transfer of interest means the shares can be transferred, okay. So the shares can be transferred and easily a person can get the money in cash, okay, when the shares are being sold. Next is perpetual existence. So death, insolvency, lunacy. I've already given you the meaning of insolvency earlier when we were doing that is cooperative society and others, okay, other forms of business organization. So death, insolvency, lunacy, insolvency of any member does not affect the company. So the members may come and go, shareholders may come and go, but the company exists for a long period of time or forever, okay. So it is having a separate legal identity, so therefore it is a merit for the joint stock company. It is not affected by the members coming and going. A scope of expansion, as huge financial resources are also received from the bank, because it's a large that is company. The banks are also willingly giving the loans to these companies, and also they get money in the form of that is exchange for shares from the public. So there's lot of financial, that is huge financial resources in the company. So this is one of the merits. So they can work on large scale, okay. Then professional management. The company can afford to pay high salaries to expert professionals. So the company can pay to expert people because the company has enough of funds. unlike a sole proprietorship who did not have much of finance, so could not afford to keep a professional person in his that is business, or not even that is the joint that is joint Hindu family business. They also could not keep people, expert people, because of lack of funds. But here, children, as I am telling you that there is huge amount of financial resources, so professional experts can be kept and they can pay high salaries to them. So therefore the management of the company is better than any of the organizations that we have discussed till now. Next, children, we come to the limitations of a joint stock company. So the first limitation of a joint stock company here is number 1, complexity in formation. So a joint stock company, unlike the other forms of organization, requires a lot of formalities. The formation of a company is time consuming, costly and complex process. Okay, so it is time consuming. It involves the preparation of several documents, okay, fulfilling several legal requirements. So in order to make a company, you have to go for a number of legal requirements and make a number of legal documents. So it's time consuming, costly also, you have to keep on paying somewhere or the other, and it is a complex procedure till it is being formed. Okay, next is, so therefore it is complexity in formation. Lack of secrecy. Now the company cannot keep everything secret. Okay, so it has to show its accounts to the shareholders. Okay, and the Companies Act has made it mandatory for the public company to, that is, provide a lot of information to the Office of Registrar of Companies from time to time. So they have to give the information regarding their accounts to the Office of Registrar from time to time. Such information is available to the general public also. So therefore there is lack of secrecy. This is one demerit of joint stock company. Impersonal work environment. Now children, when we are talking about the sole proprietorship, he was willingly doing his work very efficiently in the business because it was his work. Okay, it was his business. But here the people who are the owners are the shareholders, who are not having much time, or they don't they are not involved in the management of the company, and therefore we can see that impersonal work, people are not putting full effort in their work because the owners are different and the workers are different. So separation of ownership and management results in lack of effort as well as personal involvement on the part of officers of the company. So they do not want, the officers of the company are not personally involved because they might not be the owners of the company, the shareholders of the company. So they are not giving in enough of effort because it's not their work. That's what they feel. Due to large size of the company, you can see here number 3 point, due to large size of the company, sometimes it is difficult for the top management to maintain personal contact with the managers, employees, consumers and creditors. So it's a very big company, is very big. So the managers, okay, the people who are working are unable to contact with the that is the top management. The directors are unable to contact with the managers, the employees in the company, customers or creditors. Like when you compare with the sole proprietor, you will get it clearly that the sole proprietor was managing everything on his own and with full effort he was doing his work. But full effort is missing here because owners are different and the management is in the hands of the directors, children. The directors who are elected by the shareholders, and they may not put full effort, and since the company is very big, so they are unable to contact each and every employee, managers, customers, creditors, etc. So there is a mismanagement sometimes in a company because of its large size. Okay, next we come to numerous regulations. So when we are talking about a company, you will be having auditing means the accounts have to be checked. Okay, you will be having taxation, voting, filing of reports, preparation of documents, etc. So number of legal formalities are involved. Okay, so this reduces the that is freedom of the operation of the company and takes away a lot of time, since so much of report to be made, so much of audit, taxation, voting to be done, so lot of time is consumed. So numerous regulations are there in a company, which you cannot find in a partnership. Also, you don't have much regulations or sole proprietorship, etc. Okay, next, delay in decision. Again, since it is a very big company, it's big in size. Okay, all important decisions of the company are taken in the board of meeting or after consulting the various people in the company. So it takes a lot of time for arranging the meeting, and sometimes when the meeting is incomplete, decisions can't be taken. Okay, so therefore lot of time is taken because people have to be involved. It's not a single decision to be made, so board of directors have to sit for the meeting, so a lot of time is being consumed or delay in decision making. It cannot be a quick decision making. Okay, next is, children, what is oligarchy management? The term oligarchy management, the meaning of oligarchy, children, is a small group of people having control on the organization. So when you see the owners in the company, the owners, I have told you in the very beginning that the shareholders are the owners in the company. So unlike the owners are not involved in the business, they elect representatives, the board of directors. Now board of directors have full control on the company. This is what is oligarchy management. The owners are the shareholders who are not involved, and board of directors are the one who are using the company sometimes for their personal interest and benefit, and they ignore the interest of the shareholders at times. Okay, so you can see they ignore the interest of the shareholders and the company at times. So this gives non-democratic management, and that is oligarchy management. So what is the meaning of oligarchy? Small group of people, here it is the board of directors, which are having full control on the organization, and they are using the organization according to their own wishes. Next is conflict in interest. There may be conflict of interest among various stakeholders. Children, you can see here the word stakeholder is there. Okay, so I'll just underline it for you. So this is what is stakeholders here. Okay, so you can see this word stakeholders here. Now children, this stakeholder, when we were doing the initial classes, we have told you who are the stakeholders who are most closely involved with the business. It can be the consumers, it can be the suppliers, etc. Okay, so it can be such people who are involved in business. Now let us come to this. Okay, so here there may be conflict of interest among various stakeholders of a company. For example, the employees may demand high salaries, consumers want better quality products at low price, and the shareholders want high returns in the form of dividends. So and so on. It becomes difficult to fulfill all the requirements of the stakeholders. So when you are talking about the consumers, they want that the cost of the product should be less and quality should be high. However, how can it be possible if the quality is high, the price cannot be low? Okay, so and there is lot of demand from the employees to increase the salaries. So there is conflicting interest between the stakeholders. Here the stakeholders, children, are the employees. Okay, they demand something else, just reverse of what the consumers are demanding, and sometimes the shareholders are demanding higher returns. Okay, so managing all the people in the organization becomes very difficult for the company. Okay, so these are the limitations of the that is joint stock company. Children, you must go through your book. Okay, in order to understand this better. Okay. Next is types of companies. So there are three types of companies we are going to do: private company, public company, one person company. Now, types of company. A private company. A private company means which restricts the right of members to transfer its shares. Now, in a private company, children, if it is a private company, one cannot transfer their shares to anybody else. Next, has minimum of 2 and maximum of 200 members. So minimum member in a private company can be 2. Two people can start a private company, and the maximum number of members is 200 members, and it excludes the present or the past employees. So employees are not included in this membership. Okay. It does not involve public to subscribe to its securities. So it cannot involve the public cannot come for the shares of this private company. Okay. So they cannot issue shares. The private company cannot issue shares for the public. So this is what is a private company. Okay. Now, it is necessary for a private company to use the word private limited after its name. So if it is a company, say Reliance company, so it must use Reliance, that is limited company. Okay. So it has to use private limited, Reliance private limited, if it is a private company. Okay. So private company after its name. If a private company, that is any form said provisions, it case may be private company and loses all the experiments and privileges to the entitled. So it has to have a private limited after the name of the company. The following are some of the privileges of a private company. So what are the privileges if you are in a private company? One loss is that you cannot take the that is money from the public. You cannot transfer the shares. Okay. So this is loss. So but what are the privileges of a private company? A private company can be formed by only 2 members, whereas 7 people are needed to be formed in a public company. There is no need to issue a prospectus, as public is not invited to the subscribe to the shares. So they need not issue a prospectus just like your school prospectus, like that only. The company is public limited company have to issue a prospectus, and which contains the name of the company, and which is containing the various things of the company, who are the directors and all those, and many things have to be published in the prospectus. So here there is no need to issue a prospectus in case of a private company. Allotment of shares can be done without receiving the minimum subscription. A private company can start business as soon as it receives a certificate of incorporation. So a private company, children, if it receives a certificate of incorporation, this is one certificate, okay, that they get when they register themselves with the registrar. So as soon as they get the certificate of incorporation, they can start the business. Okay. Next is here, a private company needs to have only 2 directors as against the minimum of 3 directors in case of a public company. So minimum directors, number of directors in a private company can be 2, and however maximum is not given. However, maximum number of directors for both type of company is 15. Okay. So maximum here is 15. Okay. So a private company needs to have only 2 directors, whereas a public limited company needs to have 3 directors. A private company is not required to keep an index of members, that is the name of the members, while the same is necessary in case of a public company. Okay. So next is we talk about the public limited company. A public company means a company which is not a private company. As per the Companies Act, a public company is one which has minimum of 7 members and no limit on maximum members. So there is no limitation on the maximum number of members in a public company. However, the minimum number of members is 7, and it has no restriction on transfer of securities. Unlike a private limited company, just now I told you that in a private limited company there cannot be transfer of shares or securities. However, in a public limited company, securities can be transferred or shares can be transferred. Is not prohibited from inviting the public to subscribe to the securities or shares. Okay, so if the public company can invite the public for issue of, that is, shares, or to subscribe for the shares, that is, it can take money from the public. Okay, however, a private company which is a subsidiary of a public company is also treated as a public company. So this is it, children. Go through your books. Okay, directly I have clicked from your that is book, NCERT book. So here you can just go through your books. Types of companies: one is private company and one is public company. So just go through them. So what are their rights, and how the private company is privileged from the public company, you must go through it. Okay, so this one, the thing that you need to just look through is the following are some of the privileges given here. Okay, so of a private company. So this is what you have to see. Okay, private limited company, what privileges they are getting, what advantage they are getting over the public limited company. Slowly if you read, you can understand what it is all about. Okay, so just go through it. And children, this choice of forms of business organization is not a part of your syllabus. It has been deleted. Okay, so this is not a part of your syllabus. Okay, so next, what is a one person company, children? The third thing that we have to see is one person company. One person company, the third paragraph you just come to. One person company is a company with only one person as a member. So there can be companies who are not having two members minimum. There can be company which is having only one person as the member. That one person will be the shareholder of the company. It avails all the benefits of the private limited company, such as separate legal entity, protecting personal assets from business liability, and perpetual succession, that is, it will continue forever. Okay, so a one person company, as the name suggests, is a company with only one person as the member. This one person is the shareholder of the company and can avail all the benefits of the private limited company. Now come to the second paragraph. In India in 2005, J.J. Irani Expert Committee recommended the formation of OPC, that is, one person company. So it was J.J. Irani who has recommended the formation of one person company. It has suggested that such an entity may be provided with a single legal regime. So all this thing you need not know. What you need to know here in this thing is just the definition of one person company. That's all you will be knowing. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so a single person can also own a company. That is what it is. The introduction of OPC is a legal system, is a move that would encourage, okay, this would encourage micro business and enterprise, that is small business, it will be encouraging. Okay, so this is it, children. Just go through the public limited company, private limited company, and one person company in your new books. It will be there in your NCERT, the new edition. The old edition does not have one person company, but you can see the public limited and private company there. Okay, so just go through it and go through the difference between these two. Okay, so we'll discuss the difference in the, that is, online classes as well. Okay, but just let us just go through the difference now. Now come to the difference between the private company and the public company. Number of members. So you can see private company minimum 2 and maximum 200. In a public company it is minimum 7, maximum there is no limit. Okay, commencement of business. How can a private company start? It can start after receiving the certificate of incorporation, but for a public company it has to obtain certificate of commencement of business as well. Okay, so the private company can just start with the certificate of incorporation. Public company needs a certificate of commencement. Okay. Directors, number of directors, minimum is 2 here in private company, minimum is 3 directors in a public company. Now minimum paid up capital. Now children, what is paid up capital here? It is the capital that the companies can get when they are issuing the shares. Okay, so that is with the sale of the shares, what money they get. With the sale of the shares, what money they get is what is termed as paid up capital. So from the selling of the shares, at least a private company should get 1 lakh rupees, and the public company should at least get 5 lakh rupees from the sale of the shares or paid up capital. Okay. Next is index of members, not mandatory. It is mandatory to mention the number of members or index of members. Transfer of shares, private company are not allowed to transfer the shares. However, public company is allowed to transfer the shares. Then it is invitation to the general public. Private company cannot invite the general public. Public company can invite the general public. Then meeting and report, a private company is not legally bound to convene a statutory meeting. However, it is necessary for a public company to call a statutory meeting, that is yearly meeting. Okay. Then name, essential to use the word private limited or private PVT limited after its name. Essential to use the word public limited after its name in a public company. Okay. So after the name, the private company should have private limited, public company should have public limited. Next is loans to directors. A private company can grant loans to its directors. A public company cannot grant loans to its directors. So this is the children. Once you see the difference, it will be more clear to you what is a public company and what is a private company. So legal formalities, prospectus is not required to be issued in a private company. It is obligatory or mandatory for a public company to issue a prospectus. So these are some of the things. Managerial remuneration, no restriction, you can give any money. Total managerial remuneration should have maximum 11% of net profit. So this is mentioned in a public company. Minimum number of members present in the general meeting, 2 members must be present. Okay, 5 members if members of on the date of meeting is not more than 1000. So here these are some of the things that difference you are having. Okay, so just go through the difference in your NCERT book as well and go through what is the joint stock company. Now this particular clipping, children, you will see it in 3 ways. Again, I am telling you, it's a big clipping. Joint stock company definition, what it is, the that is features, merits and demerits. You will see this first and then go into the next things. Okay, that is types of companies, then only you will understand. It's a big clip, so go through the clip slowly and gradually. Okay, so thank you all of you, have a nice day.